It's time for the Phil Ferguson Show.
Hello, this is Phil Ferguson, and you are listening to The Phil Ferguson Show, trying to start just a little bit different to make sure that you understand this is not a regular episode. It's something a little different. If you are a patron over at patreon.com/Phil, I am going to mark this as a free show, so you're not contributing anything because it's so different. What I've done is I ended up talking to, I guess, an evangelical apologist kind of person. A couple days ago, I was on the Atheist Experience TV show / YouTube thingy podcast, whatever. Had a great time, had many callers. Well, someone who used to call into that show regularly, who apparently got banned, and I did not know that in advance, sent me a Facebook message and asked if we could talk, and he was very nice about the request. And he was convinced that he could prove to me that God does indeed exist. So if you don't like that debatey kind of stuff, skip this episode. It's fine. I won't be offended. If you're here only for the financial stuff, or if you are a religious person and don't want to hear this, you can skip this episode. But if you want to hear me lean into someone who is speaking nonsense about creationism and the universe and about what happened before the Big Bang, this is a fucking show for you. And I even knew at the time I was doing it that there was a risk that I would come off sounding smug. And you can actually watch the whole thing on YouTube as well. He put it up. I'll give you his name. I don't know that I pronounced this right. Otangelo Grasso. Grasso is how I'd say it in Italian. I don't know if that is his show name or stage name, but he has a YouTube channel, and you can go find that. Just Google that name and my name, and it'll probably pop up. But I'm going to put the audio in here because he did agree that I could record the whole thing, so nothing was taken out of context. And we actually ended up doing YouTube Live, and he was very nice, and maybe I could have been nicer, but the problem I had, and you'll hear this consistently, is when he's setting up any argument or anything that he thinks is an argument, he just shotguns out 2 or 3 things that he considers to be facts. Like one of the things he would say that would drive me nuts, when I'd ask for evidence of God, he would say science. Oh, okay, science. Okay, so I could say evidence of pixies, science. See, that's not really evidence. So I did get kind of frustrated and annoyed. And in a way, it seemed so ludicrous. The things that he was presenting to justify his already existing belief in a deity was so sad and so pathetic that I think at this point in time, I would almost prefer to find out that he is a troll. But I don't think that he is. I think that he seriously believes this stuff, and if you stay around and listen, you'll be able to decide for yourself. And we also learned some very disturbing things about what he would and would not do if he heard a voice that he thought was his God commanding him to do something that virtually everyone on the planet would consider to be an evil thing, that he'd have to consider it. And I don't know. I'm kind of shook a little bit by how awful this mind virus affects people, and this person is clearly clearly a very intelligent gentleman and very, very nice and very polite, at least in my interactions with him. But I just can't help thinking about all the time he spends probably doing that when he could be doing something productive for humanity, and what a waste religion can often cause, and how it can twist the minds of people around so that he can jump through the hoops to try to prove to me something that he doesn't believe himself, because this is not why he's religious. And I got him to acknowledge that during the debate, that this is not even the reason he's religious, because there is no reason to him being religious. He just is religious. Anyway, fucking thought this would be like a 1 minute or 30-second intro, and I just spent 5 minutes doing it. So we'll have a little bumper music, so it seems kind of like a real show, and then you'll be able to listen to the debate. Again, if you don't like debates, atheist debates of any kind, skip it and do something productive with your life. Otherwise, if you enjoy it, let me know. Maybe I'll talk to someone else in the future and do one of these again. So enjoy.
You're listening to The Bill Ferguson Show.
Mm-hmm, sure.
Are you okay if I record our session?
Yes.
Excellent. When you do make a video, and of course if it's live this becomes moot, will you put it in its entirety?
So would you prefer that we record it in private and then you can...
No, live is fine. I want to make my own fuck-ups. I don't want you to clip me in little pieces and make me sound bad.
No,
I'll sound bad by myself.
No, if I go live, then I just leave it
Sure.
the way it is.
Let's go live. Let's have fun.
Okay, all right. Okay, so hello everyone. Hello Phil.
Hello.
Good evening. Nice to meet you. We are meeting the first time, so it's a pleasure to have you here at my channel.
You're very kind. Thank you.
I have seen you on the Atheist Experience earlier today, so that's the reason why I got in touch with you.
I figured.
And
Sure.
You answered positively to have a conversation. So, can you give me a quick backup about yourself, about your position, ontologically speaking? Are you agnostic, a weak atheist,
Sure.
strong atheist? Just to have a little bit more information about your views and your position.
Sure. Given all those words, some of which I understand, some of which I don't. I'm not really big into philosophy, so you'll notice that pretty quickly here.
Okay.
For funsies, I often consider myself as an evangelical atheist. So just
I've never heard that term, so that's the first.
yeah. It's a conversation starter, and we can get into that a little bit later on. And of course, I'm in the United States, and I have my own business where I help people plan for retirement. And like you said, we've never met before. I'm assuming that you are in Brazil?
Yes, I am in Brazil.
Excellent. And I'm assuming you speak Portuguese.
Yes, I speak Portuguese.
And do you speak other languages, like Italian maybe?
Yes, I grew up in Zurich in Switzerland, so in the German part of Switzerland, and my parents are Italian, so I grew up with two languages, and then we had a little bit French at school, and then I came to Brazil. There I learned Portuguese, English, and a little bit Spanish, but
Sì.
just a reduced vocabulary. So.
Eccellente, io parlo abbastanza italiano.
Ah, bene, se volete possiamo parlare in italiano.
Ah, sì, ma forse no. Un soggetto semplice, sì, ma complicato no, io non parlo così bene.
Ah, lo parla abbastanza bene.
Sì, per il supermercato, sì.
Già abbastanza.
Sì. È interessante perché in italiano, in Italy, I'll go back to English here. One of the funny things I get, depending on where I go, I'll have people tell me that I speak better Italian than they do, because there's a lot of dialect in Italy.
Yes, in the south.
Yes, in the
My
south.
parents, they speak quite a different Italian than in the
See.
north, and some. I mean, in the north it is it is classical Italian. In the
See.
south, it's dialect.
Yeah.
And if you go to Sicily, these parts, even some don't understand what they say because it's heavily different.
Yeah, I was on a tour group where the bulk of the people on the group were Italians speaking in Italian, which was great. I got a lot of practice. But I had one guy that kept trying to talk to me. And when he talked to me, my brain, I was like, I don't know. It sounds like Italian, but I have literally no idea what this guy was saying to me. All I could do is smile and nod. And I asked some of the other Italians, and they said, "Oh, Phil, it's not you. He doesn't speak Italian at all. He's speaking to you in Sicilian." And they said, "We don't know what he's saying either." So these people that had lived in Italy their entire lives didn't know what he was saying either.
And if you just to give you an idea, my parents are from near Naples, about 1.5 hours, 2 hours from Naples in the mountains.
Oh, okay, see.
And we have already a strong dialect.
Yes.
And of course, I understand my parents' dialect, but if I, with that dialect, go to Sicily, I will have difficulty to understand what they say.
Were they south or due east of Naples?
They are in the middle between
Okay.
Naples and Bari, so it's in the mountains in the
Sì.
Appennini.
Is it Campania or no, not Campania?
Yes, Campania.
Campania, Abruzzese, no, non Abruzzo, Campania.
Vicino Avellino.
Ah, sì, Campania è una bella zona, meraviglioso.
Yes.
Una volta, un giorno durante la nostra vacanza, I can't remember the city name. People would build into the walls, into the caves, into the mountain. It's like a 5,000-year-old city, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's close to the Arch of the Boot.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. Excellent. Well, how can I help you today, sir?
Well, just having fun, having a conversation. So I asked you in Messenger, why are you an atheist? So maybe you try with that.
Sure. My general answer is that I am an atheist because no one has shown me sufficient evidence for God or gods. So when someone wants to talk to me, I usually ask them, who or what is their God? What are the rules of this God and or religion? And then if they have evidence that can back it up, and so far the evidence has been lacking. And I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm not saying I hate God or anything like that, but I just haven't seen the evidence.
Okay. So when I start a conversation with an unbeliever, then I don't start with the God which I believe in, which is the Christian God. Okay? What I start with is I characterize or define God as eternal, creator of the universe, intelligent, ultimate, powerful, and I characterize, I make a true dichotomy, either that God exists or not.
Okay. Now, if you say he's the creator of the universe, I'm assuming that you weren't there at the time of creation.
Yes.
So you're not a
Yes,
first-hand eyewitness of that.
No, you're not.
So that's a pretty big claim that someone that you're aware of did that. How do you have that knowledge?
Well, first of all, nobody has knowledge in an absolute sense in regards of ultimate or metaphysical reality. So neither do I know absolutely that there is a God, nor do you know in an absolute sense that the physical universe is all there is. And
thankfully I've not made that claim, so great for me.
Yeah, so, I don't make that claim neither. I cannot provide neither to you nor to anyone else empirical proofs of God's existence. That's something which I frequently hear atheists demanding me to provide. I think nobody can do that.
Yeah, I generally wouldn't use the phrase empirical proof. I would normally say evidence, and I asked for evidence of how you knew something, and you gave me none. So we can move on, or you can try again if you'd like.
Yeah, I think there are two possible ways. We can use logical proofs like Aquinas 5 ways. I think this is it's not an empirical proof that I can demonstrate you God, but we can use logic to eventually come to the conclusion that God is necessary. That would be ways.
We can play. I can play along, but maybe I'm the wrong person for this type of conversation. I generally consider philosophical or logical proofs as verbal masturbation. They don't actually get anywhere other than the argument for the argument's sake. It doesn't prove anything. And so then I will always end up being in the position, and I'll ask you again, at some point for evidence. If your position is that you can say A plus 1 equals A1 or B plus A equals C, those things, I consider them to not be of use. But, it's your show. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, as I said previously, I think it is moot for an atheist to demand empirical or demonstrable proof, or that we show God to an atheist, because we cannot do that. But in the same sense, an atheist cannot show me or prove me in an absolute sense that the natural physical world is all there is.
Yeah. So again, thankfully, I haven't made that claim. So,
yes. So
you're framing me into a position that I've not taken, and I don't like that. So
No. I am not demanding that you show that. My point is that I think it is moot to demand a demonstration of God's existence if neither we can show neither that God exists or not. So I don't think that this is an epistemologically meaningful approach to come to a good conclusion in regards to what is most likely true.
Yeah, it's I don't know, and I'm going to repeat myself, so forgive me. You are stating claims that others have made that I have not made, so I can't be in the position to defend them because I've not made them. And then you're talking about the requirements and the demands that others are making, and I'm not making those either. So the demands that you're alluding to that I'm asking for, I'm not. And the things that I'm claiming that you think are false, I've not claimed. So it makes it very hard to continue.
Okay, if your burden of proof is that you demand from me that I demonstrate you God, I cannot do that. In the same sense.
Okay. So
that's my point.
Yeah, in little bits, I'm not demanding anything from you.
Well,
you asked me to come on your show, and I'm here. We're going to have a great time. I'm not demanding anything, but what I'm saying is that if you make a claim such as the God that you know or believe in, correct me wherever I'm wrong, is the creator of the universe, I simply asked for evidence. I didn't say, I didn't demand, I didn't say empirical, I didn't say physical. I said evidence of any kind. You tell me what you've got. And so far, you've refused to participate in that process, which
we can come to
you
that.
You can do whatever you'd like to do. It's your show.
We can come. Of course, we can come to that. I mean, I think that there are three main reasons why I think that an intelligent creator is the best explanation of the origin of the universe. One would be the beginning of the universe, which requires a cause. The second would be the laws of physics.
Yeah, I'll have to stop you at one. We don't know that there's a beginning of the universe. How do you know that there is a beginning?
I would say that there are three main reasons. One is science. In philosophy, there are two reasons. One would be the second law of thermodynamics, and the third would be that we cannot have an eternal regress. Yeah,
the second two were nonsensical. Physics. What in physics says that the universe didn't exist at some point?
I think there is a big consensus in science that the universe had a beginning about 14 billion years ago.
Okay. So maybe I see the semantics problem, and it might be my misunderstanding. there's a beginning as far as time starting, but that doesn't mean there wasn't something before. And matter of fact, it might be that the question of before is nonsensical. I don't know. Again, I wasn't there. Science goes back to T minus 0, I guess, in the countdown. And we can know things to that point, to Planck time it's called, but we don't know before then. So no scientist would, I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, no scientist would say the universe didn't exist before time of 0. They would say we don't have a way to measure or know whether it did or did not exist.
Well, I can quote you here from Lars Bergström, Cosmology and Particle Astrophysics, a book from 2006. And he states emphatically, the standard model of cosmology is the hot Big Bang model, which states that the universe is not infinitely old, but rather came into existence some 13 to 14 billion years ago.
And that agrees with what I just said. There is a beginning, but it doesn't mean there was nothing before it. He didn't address that at all in that quote.
Well, there are quotes like, for example,
I'm sure we can find a quote of anything. That the thing is that you don't know, and you're taking a position that you do know. I'll admit that I don't know. I don't know if there was if anything existed before t equals 0, because I have no way of knowing that. Scientists have no way of knowing that. They can give opinions or positions, but I will be happy to admit my ignorance. You're making the claim that you know there was nothing before t equals 0. How do you know that?
Well, science claims to know about 10 to the minus 43rd second. It doesn't know what was in between there. Now, I mean, for example, Martin Rees, he says very clearly that it is justified here. It is an extrapolation of what we know. We had a beginning. So he doesn't make, as you said, an absolute claim, but he says that it is a warranted belief or a justified conclusion.
Maybe I can make
the universe
a tortured,
most probably
sure.
beginning. So
I'll make a tortured analogy. If I make a cake, at some point the cake begins to exist. Now, I don't know if that's when I pull it out of the oven, or when I stick it into the oven, or when I've mixed all the ingredients. But to say that before the cake existed there was nothing would be false.
I agree with you.
Excellent.
I think there was I think there was something.
Right. So what if there's something before the universe began? What if there was something? What would that something be?
I think it was an eternal intelligent creator which had power through his intelligence and power to instantiate the physical universe.
I know you believe that. I don't doubt you at all that you believe that. But you have no evidence. At least you've not expressed any.
I think that the fact that the universe most likely, I'm not saying that in an absolute sense, but using Bayesian statistics, that the universe most likely had a beginning, it is a warranted position to hold.
Oh, I've not argued with the concept of a beginning. I've argued against you knowing what happened before the beginning.
No, I'm not making absolute claims.
Yeah, I'm not very comfortable with absolute, because if we're going to use absolute, I don't know anything absolutely.
Right. So,
but you've claimed that a deity created the universe, and you say there was.
That's what I believe.
Yes. Excellent. I'm glad I can get that correctly, because I don't want to misstate you. But then you claim that nothing existed before the beginning of the universe.
Nothing physical.
Nothing physical. And I've asked how you know that, and you don't have any evidence. You don't have any reason to believe that at all. But then you say,
science,
but science talks about the beginning. It doesn't talk about before the beginning. It can't. We're blocked from that information.
It doesn't say anything about the beyond the universe, but it says that the universe most likely had a beginning about 14 billion years ago.
We do agree on that. Just like my cake analogy, at some point we could agree to when the cake itself as a cake began to exist. It doesn't mean there was nothing before the cake was a cake. There was something. And I'm not saying that there was something before the beginning of the universe. I'm saying I don't know. You're taking the position that you do know, and I'm asking you how you know, and you don't. have anything to support that. And then you throw on that there is an entity that did exist before the beginning of the universe, and you also can't support that.
I think I can support it. Of course, I cannot support it in an absolute sense.
Yeah,
but
we can stop
support
using the
it.
word absolute, because if anything has to be absolute, nothing happens.
Right. So I can support my my belief, my position, based on the evidence, based on the fact that most likely the universe had a beginning, therefore it had to have a cause. Now we can, of course, now speculate what it had.
It's so rough, and of course, since you watched the Atheist Experience, you know the style of the show. I can't let you go through 4 or 5 steps to build an argument, which could be a perfectly profoundly deep and meaningful logical argument based on premises that are just not true. And so you said the universe had to have a cause. How do you know that?
Well, can something come from nothing?
Well, you're claiming that it can. That's what you just said. You were claiming there was nothing, and then there was something that it began. You are actually taking the position that something can come from nothing, not me.
What I am saying that there was nothing physical. I'm not saying that there was absolutely nothing.
See, absolute means nothing, absolutely nothing. You're taking the position then, let me rephrase it. There was nothing physical.
Right.
And then there was something physical. So something physical came from something not physical. So in that case, you are the one claiming that something physical came from something not physical. How do you know that?
Well, again, if you ask me about absolute knowledge,
I didn't.
I cannot provide you that.
I didn't ask you about absolute knowledge.
You are asking me about knowledge. What is knowledge?
I am asking you how you know what you claim to know.
I am not claiming to know in an absolute sense.
I'm not using the word absolute.
So all I can provide to you is what I believe based on reason.
Well, you've provided what you believe. With reason, we're going to debate, I guess. But you've said, almost as a pejorative to me, that I'm claiming that something comes from nothing. I did not make that claim. So it's unfortunate. Maybe other people have said that. I've not said that. Mm-hmm. But you are the one actually taking the position, which apparently you dislike, where you are taking nothing physically existed and then something physically did exist. So something physical existing did come from something not physically existing.
Right.
So that's your position, which interestingly you want to apply to me as a negative to my position, which I've not taken. So I'm just amused by the fact that you are the one who's actually holding the position that's irrational and trying to apply it to me.
No, I don't think that my position is irrational.
I believe you. I believe you don't think that.
Yeah. So if you think that my position is irrational,
good.
That'll be why.
We will agree on that point, sir.
So, do you think my position is irrational?
I think I've made that abundantly clear. Yes, sir. I do.
Okay. So, do you have a better explanation?
Nope. I don't claim to have one. Okay. I'm just saying that you have no evidence to support your claim. So I could say that magic pixies, 3 days before the Big Bang, had a wonderful green fairyland that they lived in and decided it wasn't big enough. And I believe that they created the universe to make their fairyland bigger. Do I have any evidence to support that? Nope.
Right.
Do you have any evidence to support your position? Nope.
I think I have.
Then let us have it, please. That's what I'm asking for.
I think I provided it already, Phil.
I know you think that, but you're mistaken.
Okay, so you are basically putting me in a corner because
I'm not putting you in a corner. You may have cornered yourself because you are making a claim that you cannot substantiate. You claim that something physical came from something not physical. And I'm asking you how you know that. You have no evidence. You also claim that a deity who doesn't have to comply with the laws of being physical and then not physical, unless he's not physical now, and if he's never physical in any way, he can't actually interact with the physical world unless you believe in the supernatural, which is a nonsensical concept that we'd have to get into later. So you keep stacking these things that you believe. I truly accept that you believe them. So you don't have to tell me what you believe. I think I got it. I think I've been able to restate what you believe. I'm asking for the evidence to support your belief.
The premise is that the universe most probably had a beginning.
We've agreed that the universe has a beginning, t equals 0. And we've agreed what happens after Planck time based on physics, which I am not an expert on. But I think we can agree on that. So I agree that from a temporal standpoint, the universe as we know it, the one in which we live in, did have a beginning. I have no knowledge, nor have I made a claim of what it was like before that time, except for my silly Green Valley pixie fairy land, which was obviously meant satirically. So I don't know what happened before t equals 0.
Okay.
I contest that you don't know either, but you've claimed that you do.
No, I didn't claim that I do. I claimed that I think we can make logical inferences based on the evidence that the universe most likely had a beginning.
I'm so sorry. We have agreed that there is a beginning.
Okay.
So,
good.
but it's
All right.
before the beginning. Do you know what was before the beginning of the universe?
Okay, there was no before, there was eventually a beyond, because before would entail time. There was no time because time was instantiated at the Big Bang.
Okay, so then you would take the position, and correct me if I'm mistaken, that at one point physical matter came into being and or was created, and before that time there was not physical material.
Beyond that moment, there was no,
Right.
there was nothing physical.
And
right.
so how do you know that other than just saying it?
Based on science, based on Big Bang cosmology.
Yeah, based on science is a nonsensical phrase. I could say that I know your God is wrong based on science. And
Well, I
then you
can
would ask me to
quote you
prove
the
that.
I can quote you the relevant information, but I don't think this is eventually productive right now in a conversation.
It's
So
probably
that's
not,
why-
because you can quote a biblical scholar that says
Right.
Jesus existed, and I can quote a biblical scholar that says he doesn't.
Oh, I mean, my position is based on the information which I'm getting from scientific journals and papers.
No, it's information you think that you're getting.
I'm
And
getting-
quoting
I
people
mean,
that
I'm
support your
reading
position is
scientific
not
books, so-
necessarily evidence. Evidence would be something that showed that there was no physical material before the Big Bang. Because you're claiming that there wasn't.
I have to come back to again to what I said previously.
Sure.
We cannot know anything in absolute terms. So if
Yeah,
that
I'm
is
not
the
using
standard
absolute
of
terms.
proof,
I don't accept absolute terms in the way that you're using it. Because I don't know anything absolutely. So if it's required to be absolute, I know nothing.
So I don't neither. So that's
Yeah, I'm not.
That's, I
That's,
don't
see, that's the
think-
beauty is I'm not asking you absolutely. I'm asking you for anything. Give me
That's what I'm giving.
anything that shows that
I
you
just-
have evidence there wasn't physical material before the Big Bang.
I just quoted you what science.
You
has
quoted what
discovered.
somebody said. Yay. But that's
Right.
not evidence. That's a quote. That's why they have different words. A quote is a quote.
If you
Evidence
don't-
is evidence.
Okay, if you don't accept that as evidence, then what would be evidence for you which you would accept?
See, I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't know what it would be like before the Big Bang.
No, but in regards of the claim that the universe most likely had a beginning.
We've agreed that there is a beginning as measured by
good.
time in
So-
our universe.
Okay.
It's
good.
the before
So-
the beginning.
Okay, so we have three possible scenarios here.
How do you
Is
know
the
there's only
universe-
three?
Yeah, if you let me state
Sure.
them. If you disagree, then
Give me the first one.
we can correct. The universe started from absolutely nothing.
Yeah, which
with no
I don't
cause.
accept. That you have no evidence for it. What's number two?
The universe is oscillating. There was a universe prior to ours, and it collapsed, and then there was a new beginning with the Big Bang.
So point two, your position as an option would be the exact opposite of point one then.
Yes, I mean, I am stating now the possibilities, what could have been.
Okay.
Okay, so there could have been that nothing started the universe. There could have been an oscillating universe which was eternal, an infinite regress That would be the second option. Okay. There could be another option, which would be a case situation where an eternal cause would have instantiated the universe to be eternal. That would be another eventual scenario. Okay.
Okay.
And the fourth would be that.
I thought we only had 3 options.
Yeah, so there are 4 actually. And the fourth would be that God created the universe, that a non-physical, intelligent, eternal being, powerful and intelligent, instantiated the universe. So if you have another option,
I've not really thought about it that hard. So let's go with,
Okay.
for the purpose of this conversation, there are 4 options.
Correct. Okay. So, first option which I mentioned was that nothing created the universe. Do you think this is a reasonable explanation?
Well, given the fact that I have limited understanding of the physics after t equals 0, and also given that I have no information about what happened before t equals 0, I am completely and grotesquely incompetent to be able to divine the probability of any one of the 4 scenarios with information that is not available to me.
Well, I am in a little bit different position because
You claim that you are, but yet there's no evidence. So now would be
Well,
the time
first-
to give it.
Okay, so we can start with point 1. Do you think that nothing has causal powers?
Did I have, does what?
Do you think that nothing has causal powers?
I don't even know what nothing is.
Nothing is the absence of anything.
Okay, so in the absence of anything, there is no deity.
No, what I am asking if absolutely nothing could instantiate the universe and trigger the Big Bang.
Okay, again, absolute is a very dicey word, but if there's absolutely nothing, then that means there's no God,
Nothing, right?
right?
Yeah.
So what's the question? If there's nothing, what's the question?
Could an absolute nothing or an ontological nothing, a real state of affairs of nothing, which is the contrary of something, trigger the Big Bang?
Could it trigger it? How would I know?
Yes, or start it.
How would I know? We have no way to know what happened before t equals 0, which is what we were talking about. So we agree that there's a beginning, and it sounds like by default, we agree that neither one of us has any information before the beginning. And so if I have no information at all, and I have no way of getting information about what happened before the beginning, there is absolutely no way I can give an intelligent answer to something that is beyond my understanding.
Well, maybe we can if we think about it.
Okay.
Let's go. Okay, so I ask again. Something can instantiate something. Nothing cannot instantiate something. Correct or false?
And see, it's a false dichotomy. I don't even know how to guess yes or no. I don't have any information on that. And I'm betting you don't either, because you've refused to give any evidence that you know something about before beginning.
Okay, 0 plus 0 equals what?
I thought we were doing evidence, not math. You know what it is.
No, 0, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
What's
do you
minus 2
expect-
plus 2?
Yeah, so do you expect that a white elephant pops out in your room from absolutely nothing without any cause
Of
whatsoever?
course, that's a nonsensical example. What if the
Right.
universe was nothing, and now the universe is matter and an equal part of antimatter that you can't see, and it still equals nothing when it gets all put back together again?
Yeah, that would be the same situation that you go to a bank and there you make a debt and let's say $100, and then eventually you go out of the bank and there you make $100, and then you sum, and in the end you have no money because you have a debt of $100, but you have also an asset of $100. And then of course the question is, what arranged that situation that in the end you have equal to 0 money in your wallet?
Was that a question? I'm sorry.
of course, in order you to have that zero asset, and you have a debt of $100, and you have an asset of $100, that state of affairs has to be instantiated first before you can say, I have $0 in the bank, because there is a previous narrative, situation, and events, right?
I'm not sure where it's breaking down. So if I borrow $100 from the bank and I put $100 in the bank, I then do have $100 in the bank.
No, if you have
No.
a debt of,
I do have $100 in the bank. I haven't paid the debt.
Okay.
I've placed $100 in my checking account while the
Right.
loan remains open. I still
Okay.
owe $100, but I
Okay.
could put $100 in the bank, and it could be true for me to say, I currently have $100 in the bank, and I
Right.
owe $100, which I've not paid. If I
Right.
pay it with the money that's in the bank, I could now say I have $0 in the bank. But until I pay that loan, the $100 that I put in the bank, I could truthfully and honestly say I have $100 in the bank.
right, but you have to act in order to have that state of affairs, right? It cannot, that state of affairs of having $100 on the bank and being in debt of $100 in the bank is something which has to be caused
Oh, okay.
previously, right?
I think I get where you're going. You're trying to make an analogy that for me to have
the
money or
universe.
to not have money, I have to
That's
do
the
something.
same situation. If you say the net energy or at the beginning of the universe is a zero because there was positive and negative energy, then of course you have to ask yourself what caused that state of affairs to
One could
to
ask
be
one could
what
ask
it is.
oneself how that situation came to be. Yes, you could
Right,
ask that.
exactly.
The problem is that you have answered it without any evidence. Because someone could ask me, Phil, do you have $100 in the bank? I could say, yes, I have $100 in the bank. And someone could say, Phil, did you put it there? And I could say, no.
Okay, so where do we go from there to the state of affairs, which you said that the net energy at the beginning was a zero because there was
I didn't say it
cancellation of
was
positive-
zero. I was giving you an alternate example because you asked me what 0 plus 0 was, and I said that it was 0. All I did was ask you what is -2 plus +2. That's not a claim that I know that's how the universe is. I was giving you an alternate situation that we could both arrive at 0 from different original starting sources, and we have no way to know which one of those is better at getting to 0.
Yeah, I actually answered to you because there is actually there are some people which state precisely what you just said, that the state of affairs of 0 at the beginning of the universe was because there was positive and negative energy, it canceled out, and then there were some
Yeah.
virtual particles and so forth.
Question for you, if I may. Why do we have to go through this bizarre roundabout, and forgive me, and for listeners, forgive me, verbal masturbation about what is 0 and what is before time? If your deity is real, why not just give me something I can see, tangible evidence today? I'll sit here, and for the next 5 minutes, if someone knocks on my door, walks up to my office, and puts a $100 bill in front of me, I'll accept that as evidence.
I think that God has given enough evidence for those who seek Him.
I think you are mistaken.
And I think that He has given enough darkness for those which want to live independently from Him and autonomously. So He respects our decisions, our will, and if you value living your life without considering to believing in God, then God will respect that, and He is enough distant in order for you to live your life the way that you prefer.
Yeah, you keep making a whole bunch of theological positions and claims. You haven't even demonstrated that God exists, let alone that He has this systematic method of hiding from people until they accept him, and then he shows himself. Why? Why make a game out of it? What a douche. I mean, why not just show up? Here's an example. We're going to talk analogies. If I'm outside of my house and I'm on the sidewalk, and I see ants on the sidewalk, and I see that there's a little ant hill, and let's say all of the ants go inside of the ant hill, and they decide that to make me happy, they're going to take another ant and put it on an altar and burn it. How much joy will that give me?
Okay, I think that God has made himself visible to us through Christ's incarnation.
There's an example where you didn't answer a simple question. How much joy would I get from ants burning another ant on an altar?
I think none, right?
I think none's pretty close. I mean, we're just going to call it none for the sake of argument. But there is a measurable difference between me and the ants. We can do it in volume, we can do it in inches and length, weight, mass, whatever. But the difference claimed by most Christians, and if you do not hold this position, please correct me, that difference between an ant and me is nothing compared to the difference between you and me and the creator of the universe. So if I could care less about ants burning another ant to me, why would the creator of the universe care if I jack off, or if I commit a sin, or if I spill my seed instead of impregnating my brother's wife? Why would he care at all about anything you or I could do?
Yeah, first of all, I think that God created the universe, life.
I know. Go ahead.
For a specific reason. Everything that God does, he does it out of love. He wants to have a loving relationship with
Everything
us.
he does out of love.
Right.
Did God create evil?
He created the possibility of there to be evil.
Okay. Did he create the devil?
Yes, he created Lucifer, which was
A fallen angel. Yeah.
Which decided to take God's throne, and God said no. And so
did God know in advance that Lucifer would fall?
I think so. Yes.
Okay, but he created him anyway.
Right.
Okay, and so apparently, it is possible to fight against God.
Absolutely.
Okay, and what is the punishment that Lucifer gets? He gets his own realm to torture people for eternity for his own pleasure. Is that really a punishment for him?
Well, I think that Lucifer, he will be punished eternally in hell in the future.
But again, no evidence that Lucifer exists or that God exists or that there's a hell. It's all made up in your head. Someone told you when you were a kid that all this stuff was true, and you can't accept that it's not. And that's unfortunate.
Well, that is a claim which you make. I mean, it depends what you regard as evidence.
What was my claim? Did you get taught this stuff as a kid?
No. Yes.
Okay. I'll stand by that claim then, because I now have evidence that it's true.
That what is true?
That you were taught these things as a child. I hypothesized that. You were right to point out that I may not be correct. So I asked for the information from you, and you've indicated that it was correct.
Yes, right.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it depends of what you consider as evidence. I consider the Bible.
The 5 minutes are up. I don't have $100, by the way, for the listeners who are playing along. So here's what I'm thinking. If God wants me to not be an atheist.
Who told you that he wants you not to be an atheist?
Oh, no. See, that's beautiful. I like that. Thank you very much. I'm hypothesizing.
Okay.
I'm hypothesizing. If God did not want me to be an atheist, he could do whatever it is that's required. So if you ask me,
right,
what would it take? Maybe I don't know. Because of my limited human capacities, I don't know what it would take. But he would know. Right?
Okay.
He would know what it would take to convince me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's chosen not to do that.
Right.
So I hypothesize further, again, without evidence, that in this scenario, God actually wants me to be an atheist. And God wants me to be an evangelical atheist so that I can help people leave the false religion that has been bastardized over the last couple of thousands of years. And that you're all wrong. And I am actually doing God's will by talking to you and your listeners to explain to them why they are following a false religion and they should all follow me.
Well, I will demand the same as you demand from me.
You would, but why don't you ask yourself those things?
Well, do you think that I have not asked myself?
I think you have not asked yourself. I do.
Okay.
I think you are so phenomenally intelligent that you have found a way to slice and dice information and quote mine to convince yourself. I am impressed by how intelligent you are and how calm you are in a conversation like this. I honor you by saying these things. But it's often the people that are so very intelligent that they can convince themselves of anything that they already believe, and in your case, from childhood, because it was what you were taught. You have the mental prowess to be able to convince yourself that what you already believe is true, but you haven't found evidence. You can't make a presentation to convince somebody else, but yet you try. I'm assuming this is not your first video. Again and again and again, you try to come up with evidence and rationalizations that just don't cut it. And that's the part that kind of makes me sad.
I am open to listen to what you have to offer.
Well, see, the interesting thing, and I know you won't like this, I'm not claiming there is or isn't a God other than my little joke scenario where I'm an evangelical atheist. I'm saying there's not evidence. I'm saying you've not provided evidence. You've provided claims. You've provided knowledge that you cannot have. And when asked for evidence to support your claims, you don't have it. You quote somebody from a book that I don't know and I can't check. But that's meaningless. You could quote the Pope and say that you agree with the Pope. Doesn't make you Catholic. It might, but it might not.
I regard this as your opinion. Why should I regard your opinion as valid, as authoritative, or that I
you
should
shouldn't.
seriously
You shouldn't.
consider it?
No, you shouldn't. I'm not making big sweeping claims other than as a joke or as an example to show how comically trivial your positions are, and they are unfounded and they are without evidence. So I gave you examples that are unfounded and without evidence to show you how they kind of relate to each other. But anything that's an analogy is a little bit tortured by definition, because that's what an analogy is. If I don't care what an ant does, why would God care what I do? And then you might go into free will. It didn't answer my question. Why would God care what I did?
Maybe because he created us upon his image
How do you know that?
through the Bible.
How do you know the Bible's accurate?
Have you read the Bible, Phil?
Several times. Do you endorse slavery, as the Bible does?
I think slavery has to be seen in context.
Yeah, that's bullshit. I'm sorry.
Near Eastern.
Yeah. Do you think women should not be allowed to teach like the Bible says? Do you think slaves should obey their masters like the Bible says? Do you think everyone who wants to follow Jesus should sell everything they have and leave behind their mother and their father and their family and buy a sword? And if they don't have money for a sword, they should sell their clothes to buy a sword? Is that what you think? Is that what you think people should do?
I think that all these things which you just mentioned right now, Phil, should be carefully studied, use hermeneutics to see context of everything, not take everything literally.
What do you think of the Ten Commandments?
Do you think stealing, killing, cheating?
Yeah, see, you asked me. I'm asking you, what do you think of the Ten Commandments?
I think they are appropriate. They are in accordance with what we
are they?
feel and know. That
what are the Ten Commandments?
To do these things is wrong. Well, the first first three commandments have to do with not having other gods besides the God of the Bible, not making idolatry, these kind of things. Then comes to not lust the wife of your neighbor, property of your neighbor, not to steal, not to kill, not to lie, not to, yeah.
So they're so important to you that you only know 5 of them. I mean, is this the book that you follow? Is this the book that is valuable to you? You can only name 50% of the 10 Commandments off the top of your head? How valuable is this book to you?
It is my guide. It is what I believe to be true.
You need to go back and read the owner's manual again. You don't know all 10 of them. You know half.
Okay, let's go with half. With the 3 first, I have 8.
So we'll go with the first.
Bad, I think.
Yeah, maybe you have 8. I'll give you 80%.
Okay.
That's a passing grade, but not impressive.
Right.
If there should be no other gods before Yahweh, is that God's implicit acknowledgement that there are indeed other gods?
I think there are demons, spiritual entities.
I didn't say demons, I said gods.
Which are cultivated as gods, have been cultivated as gods by ancient Near Eastern tribes. They have different deities which they claimed to be their gods. So I think that the Bible references to these deities.
When what was the guy Jephthah won a war after making a promise to God when he came home and he burnt his daughter. Is that cool? Is that okay to do? Is it okay for Abraham to take his son up to a mountain and build an altar and put him on it and kill him?
Well, let me ask you, Phil.
Yeah.
Upon what moral standard would you think these things are wrong?
I'm asking your position on it. Do you think it's okay for Abraham to kill his son?
I think that everything that God commands is moral. Everything.
Okay. So if God commands you to kill... Do you have kids?
Yes, I have a daughter.
If God commands you to kill your daughter, would you do it?
I have never thought about your question.
So think now, would you do it?
I don't like to give an answer.
Of course you don't. It's nonsensical. The very fact that this is something that you can consider. Because I've been asked, if I heard the voice of God and I was convinced it was the voice of God and the voice of God told me to kill my son, I would say, fuck no. You couldn't do that. That's very interesting to me. Mm-hmm. You couldn't make that commitment that you would not kill your daughter. I do hope at this point in time your daughter is old enough and has been able to move out of your house, because you are a danger to her and yourself. If you cannot say that you won't kill your daughter, I'm very, very worried about her safety.
No, let me ask you, upon what moral standard would it be wrong if I would kill my daughter because I hear some voices in my brain?
You've basically doubled down on the horrible claims that I've made against you. You want some kind of moral standard? I don't need a moral standard. Yes. When someone asks, should I kill my son?
Yes, you do.
Someone asks me, should I kill my son? The answer is no. If you have to rationalize the value of killing or not killing your own child, I don't care what system you claim to use. That's fucked up. And you really need to think seriously about your life and the choices that you've made if you are not able to say, I would not kill my daughter.
Okay, let me ask you something. Is it in every circumstance wrong to torture, to rape, and to kill small babies for fun? In every circumstance, yes or no?
I'll give you a straight answer. Let's see, yes or no. Is it always? What is your question? Is it always wrong?
Is it in any circumstance and always wrong, objectively wrong, to torture, to rape, to kill little babies for fun?
Oh, for fun?
Yes.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Yes.
But
okay,
so why can you? Why can't you commit to not killing your daughter?
Okay, so let me ask you that follow question. Where does that objective moral standard come from? Is
Who cares?
It something physical?
Who cares?
Is it something?
What does it matter?
I'm asking you. Yeah,
I don't
I'm
know.
asking you. Well,
I don't know.
Let's investigate this.
Okay.
Let's investigate this. Is it something physical?
Everything is physical. What's not physical? I mean,
Your mind is not physical.
my mind is physical
How do you know that?
because the mind is what the brain does. A very famous quote. There's a quote for you.
Have you heard about the hard problem of consciousness?
No. And it's probably going to be one of those argument things, which I already don't really like, and I'm not an expert in them.
No, I can straight up telling you.
Well-
Science doesn't have an answer to where.
Have you ever met
consciousness
a
comes
mind
from.
that's not in a brain?
Well, there are several near-death experiences reported, also clinical investigations.
And so
regards to
you
that.
believe in near-death experiences where people can see outside of their own body?
Yes.
Okay. So you're still not going to commit to not killing your daughter. That's what I'm getting out of this. You want to change the subject and not answer the question.
Probably not. Let's just stay with that. Okay.
It's your family, my friend. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Well,
but-
you know, Phil. I know that God will not demand this. That's why I don't like kind of hypothetical scenarios.
Why
If
would
you
God
look in
not
the
ask you to
Bible,
do that?
Because it's not in His nature to demand to do that kind of thing.
But if you had thought of that 2 or 3 minutes ago, why didn't you just say no right off the bat? You're only doing this now because you finally came up with some weird argument that God wouldn't do that. So now you know the mind of God. You know what He will and
Yeah,
won't do.
sometimes-
But
Sometimes I need a little
What-
bit time.
whatever
to
He does.
think about the question.
yeah, whatever He
mean-
does, based on your previous commitment, whatever He does is morally just.
Yes.
So if He
I
tells you to
think
kill your
that
daughter, that's morally just, and you must do it.
Well, I think that everything which God commands is moral, is just, and emanates from His nature. So that's why I don't think that He would ever ask me to do this.
Okay. So you got a nice little bow on there. You've wrapped up a fantasy, and you make up what God will and won't do after you say that God, anything He suggests is not immoral. So basically, everything everyone was told to do by God in the Bible is morally justified because God said to do it.
Everything which God commands in the Bible is justified and moral because it comes from God, which is the ultimate instance
Okay.
of morality. Yes.
Do you know the story of Onan?
Yes.
And so he was commanded to try to impregnate his brother's wife because his brother died. And he pulled out early and he spilled his seed, and God said that's bad, and then God killed him.
Mm-hmm.
So if my brother dies, do I have to go impregnate his wife?
Well, again, I think that what you read in the Bible can eventually be okay in context of that situation, but not okay in what you just said.
How do you know which is in context and which is not?
I don't know it. I am not God to know in every situation what is right and what is not right.
Why are
I
there
believe that
30,000 different forms of Christianity?
Now, let me just finish to answer
Yes, sir.
that other question. I think that I am limited in my knowledge. I believe that God is unlimited in His knowledge. And whatever He decides in the history of humankind, which I don't understand eventually why He commanded certain things to do, I trust that He decides the right things to do because He is righteous, because His character is righteous. So I am not arrogant in the sense to think that I know better than He what is right to do and to command in each single situation, as well what regards the stories which we read in the Old Testament.
I will point out a couple of minutes ago, you did claim that God would not do something. So you do have knowledge of what He would do and not do.
Well, there are things which I believe that God would or would not do. But if there are
So now
things-
you believe He would not tell you to kill His daughter, not that you know that He would not do that.
Yes, I believe that.
Okay. If you have a final question or something, that'd be cool. We can do that. And again, thank you for having me. And I'm so sorry if I seem too direct and rude. My apologies. What else can I do for you? Because I do have to take care of some other matters today.
No, sure, you're free to. We can end the conversation. It's
Yeah,
about
I
an
figured we'd
hour,
talk for
so
10 or 15 minutes, and now I've wasted an hour of your viewers' valuable time.
I don't think it was wasting our times. Quite in contrary, I think it was quite a different conversation than I actually expected. It was interesting to see how you put things and so forth. I think you were also very intelligent in your questions, in your how you conducted the conversation.
You're very, very kind. Grazie mille. Ci vediamo un'altra volta.
Sì, anche io grazie.
Grazie.
Ringrazio per la nostra conversa e spero che possa eventualmente continuare in un'altra opportunità.
Forse. Grazie, signore.
Okay.
Ciao.
Okay. Thank you everyone for watching us. See you next time. Bye.